My name is Sarah Aswell. I'm going to be your MC tonight, and we have a great program here with Andrew Sean Greer, and we're so excited. Thank everyone for coming. Thank you so much. Before we get started, I just want to thank our sponsors. Blackfoot Communications is here. Where's your table? Make some noise. Come on. There we go. First Security Bank, where are you? Woohoo! Hi. Lithium Motors, where are you? Where are you? Good. A full list of sponsors is in your program, and you should check that out because they are good people doing good things. I also want to thank our 26 table captains tonight. You can raise your hands, captains. Yay! Thank you so much. We did not have to do anything to sell tickets tonight. It just happened, which is really amazing. And also, tons of volunteers helped out tonight. Let's give our volunteers a hand. They're busy doing things. We also have a birthday girl in the house tonight. It's Tony's birthday. Where's Tony? Tony's on the board. She's been working super hard on this event, and we're not going to pay attention to her all the time. I also want to welcome Slavin Lee. Slavin, where are you? Where's hi? Slavin is the new director at the library, and we're so excited about it. Thanks for coming. I guess you probably have to, though. For God's sake. All right, we're going to get started. First, I just want to thank everybody for being patient tonight. This is the first full capacity event at the new library. It's not going to go 100% smoothly. Yes. So whatever goes wrong, I just wanted to say that at the beginning. All right. And now I'm going to welcome up someone who's really special to me and to Andy. She's a mentor for both of us and has been for many years. Please welcome Dee McNamer.
Oh, where do I go? You can just stand here. For comfort. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for coming. What an event. I feel like I've come up from a tunnel that I've been down in for, 3 years, 2.5 years, and see all these vibrant, good faces again. It's also a huge pleasure for me to be involved in this event because I have not one, not two, but 3 former students. Andy was my student, Sarah was my student, Carl was my student, and I just feel so proud of them. So I'm just going to do a very brief introduction of Andy. So I went on a trip to Seattle over the last couple of days. With my sisters, we've finally figured out in our old age that if we all go together and somebody has to double up in a bed, then 3 households are involved and we can stay in these very fancy hotels. So that's what we were doing. And one of the fancy hotels had this immensely complicated looking coffee machine. And so I was rereading Andy's latest Pulitzer Prize winning novel, Less, and found myself so absorbed all over again that my sister Kate said, what is it with that coffee machine? What do you do with it? And I said, it's a hungry little mollusk snapping open its jaws to devour pods and subsequently secreting coffee into a mug. That's from Less. And then I said, and if you're really nice, I'll bring you some. And then I gratuitously quoted another line from Les, which was Arthur Les is recalling a Colombian lover whose English was terrible. So I came walking slowly over to Kate with the coffee and said, "I want to wait on your hand and on your foot." So I think that shows you a little bit. I mean, it's a book. All of his books have this glinting language and great humor. And I met Andy in the mid-'90s when I first started teaching in the MFA program here. I'd done a bunch of gypsy jobs all around the country. Couldn't pay taxes in 3 states anymore. Had to get a job here. And I thought, well, okay, I have to get a job to support my writing habit. And so I went to, very early on, a graduate workshop that Andy was in, and we were in LA 233, which some of you know. And it's sort of a bilious shade of white, smells like boys' socks. And, there's this sort of steady little whine from the neon lights. And, but I had this wonderful group of students, spearheaded really by Andy Greer, who I felt turned the place into a delicious sort of salon. Because he not only said witty, insightful, funny, and offsides things, but he seemed able to ignite others to do the same. We were all instantly so smart, so full of laughter, so invested in the writer under discussion, that I had to, on the spot, revise some idea I'd had about teaching and why I was doing it, because I was actually just having so much fun, and I felt so invested and alive. Andy then was writing about, as I recall, there was a lot of bathyscaphs. Do you know what bathyscaphs are? They're these like single-person submarines, and he would go down, and the bathyscaphs. He had mermaids, which I finally just told him he simply could not do this. He could have no more bathyscaphs, and he could have no more mermaids. And he obeyed me, as he should have, and subsequently concocted stories and novels that really, taken together, are a breathtaking achievement. The Confessions of Max Tivoli, The Impossible Lives of Greta Wells, The Story of a Marriage, on. And then Les, which got him the Pulitzer Prize. And in September, I believe, Les is Lost. His latest novel will be available to all of us. He's a wonderful, scintillating, kind person. So please welcome him heartily.
Oh my gosh, I finally got a bar mitzvah. Read my Torah portion. Dee knows this, that after telling me no more mermaids, I got a tattoo of a mermaid here. Yeah, just a spider. I'm older now.
Hi, Andy.
Hi, Sarah.
How's it going?
Great.
Yeah?
This is really amazing.
I know. Isn't it nice?
I hope they're drinking.
They are. And this is a reminder that your table captain can go get more wine bottles at the back of the room. Go get more food. You won't be interrupting us at all. Andy, how can Missoula somehow take credit for your Pulitzer Prize? How?
Okay, yeah.
What are how are you influenced from your time here?
Okay. I'll do it. One thing, I will say that I moved here in 1994 from New York City Yeah. This is so embarrassing, but if you know New Yorkers, or you yourselves have been New Yorkers, then you're aware that in New York, they think there's really just New York. You've seen the picture. And coming to Missoula, I was like, oh, there are other places. There might be more than just Missoula and New York even. What if there was like other countries? Like I wasn't even aware. That it opened my eyes to the idea that I certainly had never had as interesting literary conversations as I had here. I had not found my people in all of New York City. I wasn't in all of New York City. But like this was the place that was the most intellectual to me. And fed that part of myself. And made me more, I think, curious about the world and less judgmental. Because, I don't know, I hadn't been here before. In fact, when I came here, I only got into 2 graduate schools. I got into University of Alabama, Tuscaloosa. Oh yeah, you have a rivalry with Alabama, I know. It's long simmering. And Missoula, and my mother really wanted me out of New York City. And so she offered to fly me to both places, which was very extravagant in 1994. And so I flew to Tuscaloosa, and they were super nice, and they took me out bowling, and Roll Tide or something. And then I came here, and it was May, late May. And I was like, holy shit. Because I'd never been anywhere, west of New York. And I remember being on the Higgins Street Bridge, and I kind of had like one of those nervous breakdowns that characters have in like Netflix series that are not very believable. Because I was like, I don't know if I can handle this. I don't know if I can do this. This is like this kind of beauty is not appropriate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a super similar experience. I'm from the
Really?
East Coast. I came here. I'd never been to Montana before. And I went camping. They take the graduate students camping. And I was like, what is this place? What did I do? It's good. I was also
But you kind of liked it, like...
Oh, I loved it.
But, like, you were resistant.
No, I just didn't know. I didn't even know Montana meant, like, mountains. I had no idea.
You took German.
I took Latin. I was just the visiting writer at University of Alabama this winter.
Okay, so... Roll Tide!
Roll Tide! It's actually really nice. Well,
it seemed really great.
They have so much football money.
Oh.
They have so much football money. Their creative writing program is huge right now. So, this sounds like an endorsement or an advertisement, but it's just nice. Roll
or like
Tide.
a sliding doors kind of setup.
Right.
What if I'd been an Alabama? Yeah.
Right. But it's not as pretty. So.
Yeah.
And Dee isn't there.
No.
So.
She's never been there, as far as I know.
Yeah. So. This is just a question from me, personally.
Okay, we won't tell them.
Okay. Don't talk into the microphone. What is it like to find out that you won the Pulitzer? Is it an email? Like what? How? Are you on a short list? Is it just like what happened?
Get ready. I'm going to tell you the whole story because I will do the whole thing if you want.
Yeah.
No, there is no short list. And like, do you know when they announced the Pulitzer Prize? No, like no. Like you don't even know that's happening and it doesn't occur to you. So I was working in Italy, outside of Florence, at an artist residency. I was officially the director, but in fact, I was kind of the assistant to the 92-year-old Baronessa, Beatrice Monti della Corte von Rizzori. And so I tried to make sure that like the electricity worked and that the heating, which was fed by wood, was going. And more importantly, that her incontinent pug wasn't pooping on the floor when the writers were there. And Margaret Atwood was coming. And I was like, there shall be no pooping for the Atwood. So I ordered these. I know this seems like it's not going to be about the Pulitzer Prize, but it is. So I ordered diapers from China that had like suspenders on them, because a pug will take off diapers because they'll do anything to get out of a costume. Instagram is not true. They won't. And so they were like, and they came and they were like sequin rainbow suspenders, and I was training the pug to wear these, and I'd gotten the pug into them, and I put the pug to bed in the Baroness's bed and kissed them both goodnight, and I went downstairs. And my boyfriend Enrico showed me his phone, and it was a copy of the San Francisco Chronicle, and it said, local author Andrew Greer wins Pulitzer Prize. And I was like, well, that's not true. I mean, anyone can use a font, we can all. So I looked at my phone, like it wasn't it was like deep in Tuscany, and it wasn't very good internet reception. And so I didn't look at my phone very often. And my phone was like 300 texts, and they were all like fireworks, dancing Spanish lady, like a champagne flute, like a shoe, snowman. Like, they're not helpful information. And so I called, a bunch of the last calls that I'd gotten were from the Chabon family, Michael Chabon, who won the Pulitzer Prize, I think, in 2000. And I was like, okay, so he'll know. But I really, really didn't think that is what had happened. And I called him, and he was like, you don't know yet? So people have been trying to call me for a long time. I was about 4 hours behind the news. And then I hit the wine cellar. No, I woke up the Baronessa. I woke up the Baronessa.
But not
and
the
hit
pug.
Yeah.
Not the pug.
But so, no, you don't. Oh, I didn't know. It's around April 18th. That's when it happens.
I'll be on the lookout.
Yeah.
That's amazing. What does it say about your self-esteem that you were like, no, this is not...
Well,
this is not right.
yeah. I mean, I don't think Lloyd's of London had me on their list of like gonna win the Pulitzer Prize that year. It was not likely. Yeah. It was not predicted.
And yet deserved.
Well, yes, yeah, well, yeah. I
Yeah.
don't care about that part. I won. Yeah, I never have to ask, do I deserve it? It doesn't matter.
Well, part of the reason this is funny is because in your book, Less, it's kind of a running joke throughout the book for those of you who are imposters here and have not read it yet. You can buy it outside and fix it, but it's a running joke in your book, Less, that an evening with the author, right? And he wins a prize or two during the book as well. It's very meta.
I didn't mean it to be meta.
I know. Well, I know. That's true.
But I think are there some writers here in the audience? I think we all have that feeling of being an imposter because you meet other writers and they seem so confident and like gold-edged and they have so many connections and you're like, I guess that's what a writer is. So that's not me. But then actually when you get beyond those writers and meet the other real writers and they don't feel like an insider and they feel strange about the whole thing and they feel weird meeting you and it's awkward and that's more normal. But you don't see them because they don't come to events like this and yeah. No, I don't know. It was, I mean, of course I wrote that book thinking no one was ever going to read it and thinking of myself as an unread writer and now it's embarrassing. Because someone wins the Pulitzer Prize in the book.
Yeah.
Would I write that if I thought I was going to actually do that? No, that's the joke. It's not funny anymore.
The book is a lot about travel. You live in Italy now.
Yeah.
Travel seems like a sort of central theme across several of your pieces of work. Do you want to talk about travel and writing?
Are you a big traveler?
I like to travel. I don't know if I'm a big traveler. I've been to a few places. Yeah.
Do you like it? Or
Are
is
you
it
turning this
awkward?
around on me?
We haven't talked very much. I want to know more about you.
No, I love traveling. I love traveling a lot.
I mean, I love it, and I also find it really, it's good for me because I find it is, many people reach humility by being humble, and I reach it by being humiliated. And I find that is a consistent attribute of travel for me. When you're there at the subway thing and like the train's coming and you have some kind of card and it won't eat your card. And so you put it into like a mail slot and jump over the thing and the police are coming and you go and you're fine. Like that kind of thing has happened more than once. Like I'm just wrong all the time. And it's very good for me.
Yeah, it's
I'm
very
like,
freeing.
You're like, there's so many ways to be human. I mean, subways are really a good example of that.
No, I think the worst thing that's ever happened to me is I tried to go into a dressing room in Tokyo with my shoes on.
Oh.
Yeah, you can't do that. They get very upset. Yeah, but
The worst is when you wear the bathroom slippers out of the bathroom and start walking around the house in those bathroom slippers.
Oh, very bad.
Gross. Yeah, I think I was a travel writer at that time. I had I was a gypsy writer and I was trying to make up buck, and we were super broke. And my husband at the time, who is here, David Ross. And this will sound weird to you, but let's raise a glass of champagne. We signed our divorce papers 2 hours ago. He gets half of every book you buy. I know that feels so awkward, but it isn't for us. Where was I going with that? What was I talking about? I was a travel writer. David finally said, he was like, I think you have to get a job. And I was like, all right, I'll try. And so I was like, New York City has jobs. And so I flew to New York, and I had a friend who worked for Travel and Leisure, and here was my plan. I was like, can you get me to meet your boss? She's like, no, he's too busy, but I can take you on a tour. I was like, that's fine, just introduce me to him. And I wore the most garish outfit I could wear, like bright colors. And she introduced me. He was on the phone. He's like, hi, nice to meet you. Because I thought maybe there'll be a meeting where they're like, so-and-so can't write that article about Barcelona. And she'll be like, what about my friend? Which friend? You know, the guy in the orange sweater. Sure. That's exactly what happened. And that is how I became a travel writer. Because once you're in, they're like, what about that guy with the orange sweater again? And so I did a lot. It was to make money. And then when I started to write less, I was using all the notes. Because when you travel alone, all you do is take notes. You're sitting at a cafe in Saigon for 3 hours, and you just take notes on like the dog and the fan and the things. And so I had notes, and I started thinking like, oh, I need to make them go around the world. So I started pitching ideas that were like, I need to go to India, and I need to go to Japan. Those were the hard places for me to get to because I couldn't afford to go. So that continued my travel writing career.
That is so cool. And I hate to bring it up, but there's no Missoula in the book.
I'm so glad you mentioned that. Because the original beginning of Les took place just outside Missoula. And I printed it out today. I hadn't looked at it in about 5 years. So I thought I'd read it for you. And I'm sorry it got cut from the book. And actually, I tried to put it into this new book, and it also didn't fit. So it's just for you. And it's the first draft of something. All right. Les had lived in the West for a long... Oh, I guess it's in third person. Les is in first person, so I hadn't even made it first person. Oh, wait, it is third person.
Who has a copy? Who can share?
None of that matters now. Les had lived in the West for a long time, but only if you count California. In actuality, he had never managed to stay in the mountain time zone for more than 24 hours. This was something else. When the head dropped him off at the lodge, Les wondered if they were possibly kidding. A 2-story Lincoln Logs building decorated with snow and deer antlers. You've been to Lolo. Skis and snowshoes hung out front. The lobby was a storing house for more antlers, and the huge central fireplace seemed to have been fed a patio set. Miniature grizzly bears were for sale at the counter. Greetings from Mont, the last cut off with a bite mark. And a carousel of postcards poking fun at North Dakotans. A big, friendly blonde woman in flannel checked him in and told him to take a Fireball from the jar. Do you have other flavors? We sure don't. The candy still burning a hole in his cheek, Les was shown to his cabin. A little log structure with a bed, a desk, and a Franklin stove. A view out of the window of fir trees rigged with snow to fall upon him. A little coffee maker that could do nobody any harm. There's wood out on the porch, and you know how to light a fire? Les nodded yes, for he had been a Cub Scout. Won the Pinewood Derby, in fact. The door closed, and he was far away from his former life. He stacked the wood in a little Cub Scout teepee and stuffed the underspace with newspaper and lit the thing. He considered throwing his packet of hopeful manuscripts into the fire as well and crying chaos to the universe. But the remaining newspaper bits intrigued him. Wendell Maddox, 47, arrested for criminal mischief and possession of stolen birdhouse. Flying high while tying flies. Kids take cover at target range. Complete with photograph of children pelted by hail. It was the name of a school. Who on earth would name a school Target Range? Or Hellgate High? Or Rattlesnake? Fly tying, birdhouses, they were not kidding, no sir. No more than the New England inns called the Minuteman and the Tricorner were kidding, with their colonial cupolas topped with wrought iron weather vanes, their cannonball pyramids out front, or the Maine lobster pounds called the Nor'easter, hung with traps and glass buoys were kidding, or the moss-festooned restaurants in Savannah, or the Arizona jackalope bars, or coyote cafes, or the Florida gator this or gator that, or even the Californian surfboard sandwiches and cable car cafes and Fog City Inn were kidding. Nobody was kidding. They were dead serious. People thought of Americans as easygoing, but in fact they were all dead serious, especially about their local culture. They named their bars saloons and their shops Ye Olde. They wore the colors of the local high school teams. They were famous for their pies. Perhaps Les alone was kidding. That's it. Thanks for the setup, Sarah. That was masterful.
So natural. So natural. I mean, that just makes me think, like, about how hard writing is. Like, that didn't make either book. It's so good.
Well, that's sweet of you, but I don't know if, I think it's just for you all.
Oh, that's nice. That's
I don't know what was wrong with it. I think it was too antic or something. Like, there's an important part in it that I did make into the novel, because once when I was in Salmon Hot Springs, is that in Idaho? Yeah. Goldbug. I went there with a friend, and I got into the springs. There was no one else there. And it was sunset. It was beautiful. And then out of the woods came a moose and sat in the hot springs, or stood. And I thought, she's going to step on my balls. And I was so terrified. And I urinated freely. And she went, we watched the sunset together, and she went away. And I was like, that was the most magical thing that's ever happened in my life. And that did make it into Les's Lost, but I had to move it from Montana to somewhere, I forget where it doesn't really make much sense. But
well, we don't want to tell everyone where it is, so that's
no, we
good.
can't give it away. I should say it is for pre-order outside by Fact and Fiction.
I'm very excited about that. I just went to Goldbug for the very first time like 2 weeks ago. It's
Was
beautiful.
it magical? Did you have a moose? Did you pee?
No, but I bet if you pee, it would just go over the
I
waterfall
know.
into like the next person's.
I had never seen anything like it in my life.
Yeah,
It was so amazing.
that is amazing.
Yeah.
Tell us about the sequel, but don't give anything away.
Oh gosh. Well, I will say this. I was not planning to write like a sequel because you're not supposed to do that if you win a prize.
Yeah, how many Pulitzers have sequels?
Richard Ford.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
I was like, aren't I the next Richard Ford? Montana? No, I just couldn't help it because what happened was that I was working on a book, and then there was an election, and I have to say I'm a Democrat, and the other guy won for president, and I was like, I don't really understand the country. I haven't got my finger on the pulse of this thing, apparently. So I was like, I will rent an RV and go into places I've never been in America. And so I went for 6 weeks into the Southwest and the Deep South, and I had 2 rules. I could only go to small towns, no big cities, or not towns at all, and I had to sit at the bar or of either a restaurant or a bar, so I could talk to people and take notes.
That sounds so fun.
And so it was super fun, and I didn't talk about politics, but I would just be like, so where are you from? Tell me something. And it turned out like people they have a story they want to tell you about their life, and they're just waiting for permission to tell you.
I love that.
It was really sweet, and so I took a lot of notes, and I made it into this novel. I didn't know how it would be a novel, and I had trouble because I was like, if only I had a main character who was goofy enough to make this funny. And I was like, I guess I'll just send him on the trip, I guess. Is that illegal?
This is probably a question you hate to receive. But I'm going to ask you well, I'll frame it this way so it's less bad. How often do people ask you the similarities between you and your main character in Les? And how do you navigate that? See, I didn't ask you.
I don't know what you're talking about. That's what I say. People ask me about it a lot, and I always say, it's hard to, even to my parents, I have to explain that it isn't them, Even though it looks like them and has all the attributes of their life and their stories. And I'm like, it's gone through the magic of fiction and transformed into something else, Mother. And I have gone through the same transformation of everything's out of place. If you know me, you look at it and you're like, you recognize things and they belong to the wrong people. And that Les himself, I have now reached his age. But I wasn't his age before. I was much younger. He has my best and worst qualities, but he doesn't have any of the stuff in the middle, which is what you're getting right now. Because he's much, I think, kinder and more innocent than I am, and therefore funnier. It was fun to make fun of myself. I would sit, and I did this on this last book too. I'd be like, "What is the most humiliating thing that has ever happened to me?" I was like, "That is not funny at all." I was like, "You got better make it funny." And that's what I would do. I would think, this Les is full of really awful moments for me, that because I made it a person who slightly floats above me, it could be funny. But it would not be funny in an autobiography,
Yeah, totally. No, that lines up with humor theory, which is like you need one step removed from the actual person, or else it's humiliating or shameful, or you need that one step.
But you're a professional comedian. I don't even know. Is that the humor theory?
That's part of humor theory, yeah, that you want that. You just knew how to do it, which is good.
No.
It would have gone badly if you didn't.
If I didn't know what I was, well, I didn't know. Also, I chose a narrator that's not first person, as we just learned. So it's a little off. So the narrator can make fun of less, which was me making fun of, not me.
Right. But there is so much humor. I mean, you are a professional humor writer, right? Do you think of yourself as a humor writer?
No.
No?
No.
That surprises me.
No, because I've got all these other books. You will not crack a grin. Like, it is grim going.
How was it
I recommend them all. They're for sale outside.
How was it to switch that gear? Was it hard?
Oh, it was such a delight. Because like it's you take the things that are hard in life and you turn them upside down, and then you're kind of free of them. And then the people who read it, they're free of it too. And I just had never done that before. And it was wonderful.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's the same rules in stand-up comedy. Like, humor is about releasing tension. That's why we laugh, is because we aren't like this anymore. We can just let it out.
I hear a lot of gay men my age will write to me and be like, oh my God, thank God. Because I had written something that wasn't mournful and like AIDS story, anything like that. Instead, it was incredibly goofy, which is, I think, how we all sort of feel awkwardly at this age, instead of taking ourselves seriously.
But that's not to say that your book, I mean, I feel like you feel a lot when you read your book, or I felt a lot. Like, there's still so many emotions and so many strong emotions that aren't happy or funny, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think to me, I wrote about really serious things, but I barely touch on them in this one. And I felt like I got to be more emotional in the book because of that, instead of going right at it. But it just hadn't occurred to me before to make it funny. I think it's uncommon, like, to be a comedian. I think it's uncommon. Even though we all have funny friends.
Yeah.
I think it's...
Well, now I'm trying to think about other funny books that have won the Pulitzer before. There have to be some, but I can't think of any off the top of my head.
The Confederacy of Dunces.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one. Yeah. But you can't, like, roll them off. That's very impressive.
I'm asked it a lot, and I'm like, because actually in Italy, they didn't like the idea of a comic literary novel, because they're like, that's not what a literary novel is.
Right.
And I had to ask a friend to write an essay about it in the newspaper that's called Don Quixote and Other Literary Novels.
And really, it's not just a comedy, it's a romantic comedy. Do you consider it of that genre?
Happily, yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
I happily do too.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that for a minute? It's amazing that you could write in that genre. No, it's not amazing. There's a lot of great romantic comedies, right?
But
what was your experience?
Well, I was just like, what are the books that I actually turn to and read again? And what are the movies that, like, I ordered a bunch of Thai food and it's just me, and, like, what do I want to watch? My best friend's wedding? Absolutely. Right?
Yes.
I'm not watching another version of Dune. And then the books you read that are like the funny books, the ones that make you feel like you can go on, are very few, and I read them like every year. And it would be great to be one of those for somebody.
I feel like you totally created that. I'm not just sucking up to you because there's people listening.
A table captain could bring you a bottle of wine. You could have.
One thing I always like to ask writers when I'm talking to them is kind of what we're talking about right now. What are you reading right now that you love? What would you recommend? Give me 3 books. Movies or TV shows. You can go off.
Oh, I'm terrible on TV shows. I have no interest in them. I'm so out of date.
No, me
Definitely
too.
I'm a movie person and a book person, but I'm a weird book person.
Okay,
Because I don't know. Like, I just read a book by John Porcellino, which in Italian means little pig. but he's American. I don't even know if he knows that. But he wrote like a comic zine for 30 years out of Indiana, and it's the collected like zine, and so you get his life. And then at the end of it, I thought this was such a great novel. And it's funny stories and drawings. And then like the last third is his diaries about the same time. And you're like, oh my God, you were going through really hard times. It's amazing to see the art that comes out of the actual life experience. And I loved it. It's called Map of My Heart.
That sounds awesome. All right.
By Drawn and Quarterly. Drawn and Quarterly Press.
What else? You got another one?
Oh, what was the one I read before that was
I
really
don't mean
good?
to put you on the hot seat.
It was a crime novel. It was.
Wait, that's okay. You wrote a rom-com. It's okay.
I was so good. That was Ross McDonald. Is anyone a fan? The Far Side of the Dollar.
Oh.
It's just like L.A. 70s, 60s noir. It's got a woman in a bikini on the front, like it's going to be a Bond film. It's just so, like, everything about it is just tinged with smoke and amber, and I loved it.
I love that.
Yeah.
I always get good answers from that. Okay, we have time for one more question. Tell me what you're working on right now and how you feel about it.
How dare you? It's like a slap across the face. What are you working on?
Don't ask me.
I'm nothing.
Okay.
Nothing, no, but
okay,
I
we have time for one more question.
No, I do. No, I do. I will say, I will say that the years I worked at this artist residency with the Baronessa Beatrice Monti della Corte von Rizzori.
We don't have time for one.
I took notes. I took notes, and so I'm like, that has got to be a funny story.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm putting that together. She is still with us, but I'm sure she'd be tickled pink.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. And you live in Italy now.
Yeah.
Why
do.
Why do you, not to say that in an accusatory manner, but why are you in Italy? Instead of Missoula.
Instead of Missoula.
Is the end of that question.
Missoula was not offered. I liked working with her. I really liked the experience of being somewhere where I was wrong all the time. Not just because the Baronessa Beatrice Monti della Corte von Rizzori would tell me I was wrong. But I was wrong about what literature was. I had a very American English language focused sense of literature, and then I was opened up to the entire world of literature.
Oh, I love that.
Of art, not just Renaissance art, but contemporary art in other parts of the world, not just American, and ways of dressing that I had to dress for the table, and struggling through a language not my own, which gave me a real humility again and respect for those times where you do go abroad and the person in the hotel speaks 5 languages and you're like, you should be the ambassador to the United States. Because if I spoke those languages, I would be the ambassador to the United States. And I like that experience. I like that version of myself. Yeah.
That is so good.
That's good. Come and visit.
You're not quite leaving yet.
No.
But I'm going to thank you for coming. Okay. And then we're going to have May Nan come up and talk to us for a minute. May Nan, you want to come up? Okay, come on up. Well, do you want us to stay up?
Oh, yeah, we'll be here.
We'll be here. You can have my
a
microphone.
hurrah.
Okay, here you go.
Okay. Well, I thought this, hold it way up. This is kind of my time to way up like this. Okay.
Ice cream cone is what we
Yeah.
say.
Okay. I thought she was going to say, Maynan, it's time for you to get up and tell these people there's no free lunch. That's what I thought she was going to. And then I was going to say, oh, but it really is a free lunch or a free whatever, because we have all of these incredible, generous sponsors that you can look at in your program who made donations, large and small, to fund this event so that we could have you here and get you here and then sort of do a bait and switch kind of thing. So far it's been free. But the main thing we really wanted to do was to get you all here to learn a little bit about the Missoula Public Library Foundation. Because I'll bet many of you didn't even learn about the foundation until we started asking you for money for this library. And that was a pretty costly encounter for some of you as I look around. It's, oh, yeah, I could have done without that. But it's, thank you, by the way, for all of you kind, generous donors to our capital campaign. But we existed, the foundation existed long before the capital campaign. We've existed since 1992. And almost every public library has a foundation that advocates for library and freedom in a library. I think we all know and recognize that a public library is the hallmark of democracy. And it's, and one of the things that I think is important to understand about a foundation is that that advocacy for libraries that a foundation can provide is much needed, because this library is funded by tax dollars in terms of the bond issue and our ongoing expenses. And because it's funded by tax dollars, there is a lot of things that the library itself cannot do to advocate for itself. Let me give you a couple of examples. Long before we started on this building, it was the Library Foundation that funded the preliminary engineering cost to figure out what it would cost and whether it was viable. We funded a poll to figure out whether the voters would approve a bond issue. The library couldn't do that with tax dollars. We hired a consultant to see whether or not we could raise $5 million in our community. So all of that had to be done before we could convince the Board of County Commissioners to put this bond issue on the ballot. So we were advocates from the very beginning for this new library. Now that we have it, we want to continue to be advocates for this library, because you can look around and see the incredible potential for this library. And you are all aware of the changing needs and demographics of our community. We want to bring this library to a new level of excellence. We have a brand new executive director. Slavin, stand up. And she has an amazing vision of next steps, things that can be done, need to be done. Maybe even we could even do more things like this, right? Bring authors like this here. Yeah. So I'm going to ask the table captains. I'm going to urge the table captains to take an envelope that has some pledge cards in it and circulate them among your tables. I want to acknowledge, though, we know that every one of you already support this library. You pay your taxes, and you probably voted for this. So we know you support it already. We just want to get you involved and ask you to support it a little more so that we can continue to make it be a crown jewel in downtown Missoula. Thank you.
Woo!
Thank you so much, Maynann.
question from the audience.
Oh.
I didn't say I would take questions. They're good questions.
Would Andy be willing to offer a signed copy of what he read tonight up for auction?
Oh, let's auction that off.
Oh, whoa. Oh, what a...
Absolutely.
But I'm not an auctioneer. Who's an auctioneer around here?
We must have an auctioneer in the audience. It's Montana.
You can do it.
All right.
Sarah can do that.
I can do. I've never done it, but that's never stopped
Good
me.
idea.
Who would like a signed copy of the missing chapter from the Pulitzer Prize winning Les? Let's start at 1,000. Let's start at $500 for. No, is that too high?
No.
100. Judy Blunt says $100. We got 100. Anybody got $200? Okay, $300. 300. Okay, $400. $500. $600. I'm so good at this. $600. 600.
I'll put a heart on it.
Okay, $700. $700. 700.
I'll put
700.
lipstick on and kiss it.
Okay, we got 700 in the back. $800. 800. This appears nowhere else in the world. $800. 900. 900. I could have just started at 1,000. We're
Yeah,
back
you could have,
here.
but we're getting
Okay.
excited.
We're at $1,000. $1,000. Okay. Whoa. Yes.
Yeah.
$1,100. 1,100. Anyone with 11? 11?
What else can we
11?
throw in?
I don't know.
I got.
And a book.
Oh, and a book.
Oh, did I see someone? Okay, so 11, $1,200. $1,200. This and a book.
I will. The book I'm going to throw in is the advanced copy of Less is Lost.
Holy crap! All right, are we at 12? 1,200. 1,200. Nobody has that book. You don't even. Okay, 1,200 in the back. 1,300. Oh, 13. A totally new bidder? What? Oh my God.
Anything could happen now.
$1,400. 14. You gotta really wave. We don't. Okay, 14 in the front.
Yeah.
Oh no.
All right.
Cat fight. $1,500. 15. Oh, 15 in the
15 back there.
$1,600.
All right. I'll throw in Less and Less is Lost
Oh, what?
and the lipstick kiss and the heart and a table captain.
All right, we've got 16. Are we in the front or the back now? I forget. You're in the back for 16. Okay.
Woo, yeah. You sure?
Okay.
You guys are.
15? Okay, we're in the back with 15. Does anyone have 16? 16. 16. Oh, 16 in the front.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Woo.
Okay, 17. Anyone? I'm looking at the, you know who I'm looking at. 17? You have to put your hand up. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
18 in the, 18, anyone? 18? 18? Okay, I'm going to call it.
Are you? Yeah, I can throw in a glass of wine with me at the Wilma.
All right.
But that's kind of, anybody can have that.
All right, I'm going to say going once,
Going twice.
going twice. All right, 17.
Woo! Yay!
Thank you very much. That was so good.
Thank you, John McKay, for that fabulous idea. Did you end up getting it?
No.
Oh,
No.
dear. Oh, dear. I'm so sorry. Well,
What a great idea.
now, just because that was really successful, that doesn't really get you off the hook on making a donation of some sort. So, thank you. What? Who bought that? Can I see the hand of who?
Someone fantastic.
That is so fantastic.
Seated next to my ex-husband.
Oh, dear. Oh, my God.
Did he buy it? What's happening?
And while we're enjoying dessert, we're just going to do a few questions. If anyone has a question, it costs. How much does a question cost? No, I don't know. Just put it in the envelope.
I have to say one more thing. I could hardly see back there, but the lovely woman who bought this piece of literature, it might be the shortest piece of literature to ever go for that amount of money. This room is named after her late husband, Cooper Burchell. So, it was named after him, of course, after the Burchell family made a substantial gift to our library. And could I just say one more thing, because this is so important? You know, I'm patting the foundation on its back, because when the library board was having the design build on this library, it came in about $1 million over the budget. And they knew they couldn't go back to the voters because the voters had authorized $30 million bond issue. Our foundation had agreed to raise $5 million. The board was considering cutting off this 4th floor to balance the budget. The foundation said no. We will raise the additional $1 million to have this 4th floor. If we hadn't had the foundation, I guarantee you we would not have this 4th floor.
Thank you so much, Maydan. And look at this beautiful room. It's just absolutely amazing.
It's Cooper's room.
Cooper's room. All right, questions. Oh, we already have questions up. Are you bidding on something? No, okay.
Right, how much per question? There's 2 questions.
Just put it in the envelope. It'll be good. Oh, go ahead.
Actually, a comment about this room. May Ann talk about that the foundation went above and beyond raising money for this room. I belong to the Women's Club and the Women's Club clubs. I'm sure most of you women, or many of you women here, have belonged to the Women's Club, and when it was, it was devastating. We called Honoré and we said, can we come to the library and have a workout class at the library until we can figure out what we're going to do? And Honoré said, of course you can. And so this room was turned into a secondary women's club workout room for about 5 weeks. And I have to say, if anything made the library dear to my heart, and God knows I could check out books constantly, that absolutely touched me in a way I can't tell you. That the library was willing to go beyond literature, beyond libraries, and the community. And for that, I thank the foundation for that.
Oh, thank you so much. And I think that brings up such a great point that, libraries are, books are really amazing. I think Andy would agree. But the library is about so much more than that. It's about community. It's about being inclusive. It's about programming. I think a lot of people say, hey, we have a new library. Why do I need to give anyone money anymore? But now it's about filling this library with programming and seeing what we can do with the space that we've built, and that is so important. Okay, who had a question? Back in the back.
I love your work, and I feel like to be a writer is partially very Mary Oliver-esque, and it's to pay attention. And so you made a comment about your political alignment. What are you hopeful about right now as you observe the world?
Oh, dear, what am I hopeful about what am I hopeful about the world right now? Oh, That's so hard. No, but I am like, I'm a foolish optimist, you know? Like, I'm ridiculous. It's just, and it's parties like this, you know? No, I think I get hopeful. I mean, I get excited about, I think art I find very hopeful because it has a long vision somehow. It's usually not about right now. It's about something you're supposed to think about. And so they're like, okay, they think there's something in the future or like some amazing project like this that's going to take 50 years to fill it all up. And you're like, they've got a 50-year plan. Well, who am I to say there's 50 years will be great? You know, we'll be using the demonstration kitchen, you know? I mean, it's hard to say a sense of humor makes you hopeful necessarily because it comes from a place of observation of, don't you think?
Yeah.
Are you hopeful?
Well, I think about connection a lot, you know, like even when I can't be specifically hopeful, I can connect to people and that makes me hopeful. If that makes sense. And humor helps us do that.
Yeah.
So humor, connection, hope is sort of the line that I
have to say one nice thing about living in another country is, first of all, you wake up and there's no news for 6 hours. I mean, about the United States. But then also, like, you begin to have, like, the tiny things that scare us. For me, it's Marjorie Taylor Greene. Like, when I'm over there, they've got their own Marjorie Taylor Greene. You know, like that's in the Corriere della Sera every day. I don't know who that person is. And so I'm like, well, then why am I paying attention to this person? This is going to be a footnote, this person. I need to pay, like I can't talk about that with anyone I meet in Italy because doesn't make their paper. And I'm like, well, then I'm not going to worry about it. You know, I start to have a different vision of what's actually important. Okay, I did buy iodine when they invaded Chernobyl. Like, I got scared. But, like, you didn't. So it's fine.
What a wonderful perspective.
See, I just made a war joke and it was fine.
Okay, we have a question over in the corner.
First of all, thank you for my favorite stand-up in Missoula.
Yeah!
I'm curious about Pulitzer pressure.
Pulitzer pressure. Oh, gosh, yeah. No. As David Ross can tell you, I write best when I think nobody's ever going to read anything I write. Ever again. So, yeah, I'm sure the next book will be great. Yeah, because... No, it was a lot of pressure, but it was also, I think, also for me, it was mixed in with like the most bizarre time to get anything done in living history. So it was all mixed up in my head. But yeah, I'm aware people are going to read it. But I'm much harder on myself than any outside pressure could be. So. Luckily, so the Pulitzer pressure is off. Yeah. Yeah. I won't win another one. So,
That's a great way to think about it.
Pressure's off.
Great. Now what do you have to do a Nobel? Oh my God. Ugh.
No.
It never ends. Okay.
Imagine.
So did you have a quick one, Molly? Okay, go ahead.
Hi, Sarah, Andy, welcome home. I'm just curious, as a traveler and from your myopic New York view as a young man to your expanded worldview, what role have libraries played in your life or career? In your travels or your inspiration, just a library story.
Well, I have a lot because a lot of my books, I do a lot of research for each one of my books. And Less, it was being a travel writer, and Less is Lost, it was taking an RV through the Deep South. But my other ones, it was spending a lot of time in libraries. And because I tell my students, if you're going to do a research, Wikipedia is not it. Because that's like just the low-hanging fruit. That's not what a novel is made of. Like, you have to go, like, I walking through this library, I was like, there's maps? Like, maps are like a primary source for you to look at it. And I try to teach my students how to use things like that. I had a book called The Confessions of Max Tivoli that was set in 19th century San Francisco. And so I went to Berkeley has a Bancroft collection. And a lot of it is people's personal effects from the 19th century in boxes. And the most important thing I found was the diaries of a man of living in San Francisco. And the diaries were not that interesting, but he had encoded in them what girl he'd been out with and how far he got with her. And I was like, they're the same as us, but heterosexual. Yeah. I was just like, it was so funny. It just seemed so human that it allowed me some insight into it that there's no Wikipedia page or Googling that could ever get me in there. And it actually liberated me from having to put in like tiny details of every Victorian thing and be like, well, now I can just imagine. And so I started to imagine the book, not putting in everyone's costume, but thinking like, his mother must have worn a bustle, even though that would have been out of style. And so she would have learned how to sit in a chair like this. And I didn't read that. I just started imagining what people would do. And that makes a novel, you know? And it's only those details that you get where you feel the real person's life on a page that make a difference. So it's everything. And it's expensive.
Thank you so much, Andy. There are books outside for sale. Andy's books just completely transport you to a place and make you feel things. And I highly recommend them. He'll be signing books outside in the lobby for the next few minutes. And I just want to thank Andy again, thank our table captains, thank our sponsors, thank the library for this event, and thank all of you for coming.
Could I do one more thing? Could we sing happy birthday?
Oh, yeah, we can.
To Tony?
That's such a good idea.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it in the mic, but I'll sing.
I'll do it in the mic.
Okay.
But we're going to do it not the dirge kind. We're going to do it up-tempo. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Tony. Happy birthday to you. Thank you all for coming, and thank you to Sarah for emceeing the whole evening.
Hey, thank you, Andy. Thanks, everybody.